Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to JFLA's Financial Literacy Series. My name is Linda Feinholz, and I'm a proud past president of the Jewish Free Loan Association and past member of the board of directors. So today I'll start by introducing our speaker, Sandy Porter, in a moment, vice president and project manager at US Bank, who's here to present on the topic of not debt management, uh, budgeting. So just some housekeeping first. Please choose speaker view in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom window for the best experience today. And during the presentation, go ahead and put questions that occur to you in the chat box, because if we need further clarification while Sandy's talking, I'll make sure that question comes up. And if we're doing Q&A at the end as well, I'll read out your questions and invite you to come on camera, off mute, and join the conversation. So there's multiple ways to get your questions posed today. As many of you know, Jewish Free Loan offers zero interest, zero fee loans to anyone facing a financial challenge. We're not a bank, and we work with our clients to make sure their payments are manageable. If you're interested in learning more about our loans, whether for student loans, emergencies, small businesses, or another reason, please visit jfla.org to see the full range of loans that we offer. They're all zero interest with no fees at any time. Before we jump in, I want to take a moment and thank our sponsors, including our presenting sponsor, US Bank, our financial freedom partner, the J. Herman and R. Raji Fund, and our community partner, JSF Financial. We so appreciate their sponsorship of this program. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Sandy Porter. Sandy is a vice president and project manager at US Bank with more than 25 years of banking experience across branch operations, performance consulting, and financial education. She brings a really practical understanding of how financial decisions impact individuals and families at every stage, and is passionate about helping people build confidence, clarity, and long-term financial wellness. Sandy's honored to co-host the conversation in support of JFLA's mission to strengthen financial stability in the community. Sandy, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. Let me share my screen, and if you give me a thumbs up, that is going well. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, JFLA, for having me today. Like Linda mentioned, we are talking about a spending plan today. And most of you would know this as a budget. I do not like to use that word budgeting just because it brings a form of restriction or shame, or some people don't look at it very positively. So a spending plan is just a simple way to decide where your money goes, right? And so there's no judgment here. There is no perfect expectation. It is just about clarity and control. So I'm not here today because I have it all figured out and my money management is perfect, right? I'm here because I've lived through experiences, and so hoping that I can bring some of that back to you. So like Linda mentioned, I really hope that this is a guided conversation between all of us. I think that there is a power in community and we learn from each other. So if something resonates with you, throw it in the chat. If there is something that is working for you, throw that in the chat, right? I do feel that others could benefit from that too. So with that, let's practice that chat button for me. And I am working two screens, so I might be looking side to side on that chat button. But I have a question for you. If you found $500 today, what would you do with it? If all of a sudden you walk out and there's $500 on that kitchen counter, what would you do with it? And I do encourage you all to throw that answer in the chat and let's have a discussion.
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me see. Folks, go ahead and in the chat, I love it. From Joseph,
Yes.
pay a bill. From Diane, save it for an emergency. Who
Yeah.
else, who else would like to share? Buy some things we need, spend half, save half.
Oh,
Uh,
I love that. Yes.
I
Yes,
love it.
yes. And
Another,
so, yeah, go ahead, Linda.
I was gonna say another invest and put it towards a vacay. And the funny thing is I think about it and I realize I'm kind of immobilized when that question pops up. It's like, oh, now I'm gonna have to sit down and sort through what am I gonna do with it?
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? That's a spending plan, right? And so there's no right answer to this, right? Everybody's going to do something different. We heard pay a bill, save for vacation, invest it, and that's exactly what a spending plan is just take that lump sum of money and there's a plan to it. Every dollar should have a purpose, right? And again, there is no right wrong. It is what fits to your life, and so that's what we're digging into today, is understanding that the spending plan is just a plan for you to understand what's coming up ahead. So, with that, let's go into why having a plan matters. And again, it's not about restriction. It should give you a sense of freedom and clarity because you know what's coming up next, right? It should help you navigate everyday money choices. I think sometimes when people teach about budgeting, we teach the math portion, right? You add, subtract, and it gives you a positive and negative number. But it's really the everyday choices that we make that is going to make or break your spending plan. So it just helps you navigate that. And then lastly, it aligns your spending with your values. And we'll always come back to this throughout this conversation, is to understand what really matters to you, right? If you are looking at your spending in the last 2 weeks, right? Where you're spending your money, is that where you hold your values? And it can change over time, right? When we're young, in our 20s or 40s, and so on, that may change. But today, where you're spending your money, does it reflect to what's important to us? And so let's talk about what we call yes money, right? Budgeting sometimes gets a bad reputation because people think it's all about saying no, right? No, I can't do this because there's a plan for it. But a spending plan gives you more yes in your life, right? If you had control in those everyday money decisions, or if you had control in what's coming up next, you can have more yes in your life, right? Yes to more stability, knowing what's coming next, to more yes to more joy, right? Having money for those experiences, yes to more opportunity. When I hear this about having more opportunity in our lives because we have a plan, we have a budget in place, we're everything is going well, opportunity will come your way. The way I think about it in my own personal situation is, do I have a job that I don't like, right? If I'm stuck at this job I don't like it, but I don't have enough to go look for something else, maybe having that spending plan to give me that opportunity to go look elsewhere because I have enough to find that other job, right? So my question to you is, what's one thing you want more yes for this year? Just thinking about this year. And this is just a way for us to start thinking about, what do you want more yes for this year? Linda, when you think about this question, what do you think about?
I would like to actually planfully take a vacation. So, I'm seeing also Sharon is saying it's the same thing, travel more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Even if it's more yes to, not freaking out when there's a bill that popped up
Mhm.
that you weren't expecting,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't have to be, these vacations or the handbags or the shoes or the material things. It could be, if something pops up unexpectedly, I'm not going to freak out, right? That's saying more yes to that. Um, so let's talk about identity beats willpower. And so again, going back to the budgeting and the bad reputation, it's always, I can't do this or I shouldn't do this. But what if we looked at it differently? What if we make our habits feel like who we are, right? Are you someone or am I someone who checks my money every Friday? Am I someone who checks my money every pay period or every day, right? Am I someone who waits 24 hours before big buys? Or are you someone who just saves a little each paycheck? Which one resonates with you? Which one do you think that you can commit to?
It's interesting that you use the word commitment. I'd love to hear from other folks too, because I find I'm somebody who I'm sort of seasonal about which approach I use, which isn't really commitment.
That's interesting. Why is that seasonal? If you can explain that a little bit to me.
Um, it's like if the world is very, very, very busy, then I'm somebody who checks it regularly. We could say money every Friday, I'm checking. Like, how are things standing? Because that's part of my way of being in mental control of my life.
Yeah.
Um, and if things aren't very busy, ironically, that's when it goes to the back burner and it's like,
Yes.
I'm not spending that much. I'm not doing that much. So it's like it drops off of my
Yeah.
commitments and intentions.
Yes. Yes. An opportunity for things to creep up too.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love, Sharon and Goldie have put in here, that they each are folks who save a little each paycheck. Like, okay.
yeah. Yes. And notice how we said save a little each paycheck. We're not asking to do something astronomical or things that are not, they're just, you're not capable of, right? It's just the habit of doing something. It could even be, $5 every week or, every paycheck I'm going to save $10. Whatever that may be, it is the habit that we are forming each and every paycheck. I mean, I don't know how often you all get paid, but I get paid twice a month, right? That's 26 paychecks. If I do $10 each paycheck, that's $260 that I is just forming the habit. And so just understanding, can we make these habits our identity and not willpower? As you know, we make decisions every single hundreds of decisions every single day. What do I eat for breakfast? What should I wear today? What route am I taking to avoid traffic? Those are all everyday decisions. And by the time we get home, right, are we scrolling through Amazon? Are we scrolling through, TikTok shop? My husband's big on that right now. And by that time, we're just exhausted from all the everyday choices that we make. So if we can just make it our identity, I think that could help us very much so. What is the benefit for checking money every Friday? And I love that question because for me, checking my money regularly, I see, well, one, protection, right? Understanding that if somebody getting into your account that shouldn't be, but also knowing where I'm at during the month or during that pay period, right? Am I spending money that I didn't, that I, it's just out of habit, right? Running your debit card. But just knowing where you're at could be very, very beneficial. One, you'll know it's, surprises. Nobody likes surprises, so something's coming, whether you'll have enough or not for the bill. So it just helps you plan better. I think that would be the benefit for that I would see. Linda, do you see any other benefit for checking your money regularly?
Not only regularly, but I was thinking about the Friday question. And by checking it on Friday, it's sort of that moment of pausing before you go into the weekend where you
Yes.
relax and you go have fun and so on, to just pause
Yes.
and say, is there a number that I'm perfectly comfortable spending this weekend?
Mhm.
Or depending on what's occurred during the week, do I want to change what that number would be? If I'm
Yeah.
going out to dinner, am I having that really expensive dessert as well? Or maybe I'm passing on the dessert at this particular time.
Yes, exactly. And it helps with your weekday plans, right?
Yeah.
Should it be something that's cost effective? Should we
Yeah.
meet at a park instead of, happy hour or whatever that may be? But I love that. It does go in before your weekend. Especially if you work Monday to Friday. Monday through Friday, I feel like it's less spending because you're busy. And then the weekend, I would assume that most of the spending goes when you have the time.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
Melissa had a really great share here. It can also make it less emotional or scary to check if you make it a regular weekly thing.
Yes, yes. I do remember when I was going through, so I lost my husband when I was 32 and I had a sixth grader at the time, so he was 10. And I do remember those times where I avoided my account at all costs, right? Because we didn't want to know. I knew there wasn't enough, so I didn't want to know. But once I started breaking that habit and just, it is what it is. And just for me to know where I was in that time, whether it was Friday, the Monday, or at paid period, it's one gave me the peace of mind that I knew what was there, but also what are the things that I needed to do to make sure that I had enough for the bill, the activity, my son's activity or whatnot. Is something I could do, work extra hours or, sell something on the side. So just
Yeah.
awareness, but I do love that. Less emotional and scary.
Yeah. And just so you know, your presentation dropped off of sharing. You'll have to share it again.
Oh,
It just happened a moment ago.
okay.
There we go.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you, Melissa, for that comment. Let's talk about just the mechanics of the budget, right? The spending plan. One, we are going to get the estimate of your income and your expenses over a period of time. This is just a guess, right? Because it's going to happen in the future. But we for the most part know what's coming up. What are the bills we need to pay? We know how much we spend for gas and groceries and whatnot. Then we're going to itemize the allocation of those funds. And then lastly, we're going to plan based on that estimate. So we're going to plan based on the income that we're receiving, the expenses that are going out, and itemizing those funds. So let's dig into that. Let's start with the income. And again, income looks different for everyone, right? We have active income. This is the income that you're getting from your job. If you're operating a business, if you're a business owner, we have passive income as well. Things like, your investments, but also your pensions, your social security benefits. That's also a form of income. And then lastly, anything that was gifted to you or loaned to you is also a form of income. So we just want to identify what is coming in that we then need to allocate a purpose to, right? Again, this is going to look different for everyone. We are just trying to figure out where that money is coming from. Then we're going to look at your expenses, or you'll look at your expenses and identify what's a need versus a want. So as you're tracking your expenses, one was that is that a need versus a want, and that's going to look different for everyone, right? What I consider a need for me may not be that for you, right? It might be a want. For example, if you do photography on the side, right? Getting a nice camera to make sure those pictures come out well, because you are selling those out. A camera for you might be a need and a camera for me might be a want, right? So just understanding that is going to be different for everyone. And then your fixed versus your variables. What are the things that you pay every month that are the same? So your rent, your car payment, any loan payments, they are the same amount month over month. That's your fixed expenses. Now, your variable expenses, those are the things that are going to change month over month, right? They're going to fluctuate. Your utilities may fluctuate month to month. Your grocery bills might change month to month, right? Any clothing that you may need, maybe, you might need it, for the summer or winter or whatnot, but it's not necessarily an expense that you have every single month. The variable expenses is where you have the flexibility as you're making this plan, right? As you're making your budget, your spending plan, the variable expenses is where you'll have flexibility, because that is what's fluctuating. You can make adjustments to those. Those fixed bills, that's what we need to pay month in and month out. Your needs versus the wants. Your needs is just what do you need for survival? The roof over your head, the food on your table, your car payment because you know you need to get to and from work. So just understanding where your expenses are going. And then we categorize those expenses. You make a list of everything you're paying out, and then you can categorize them. The most common categories are your housing, your food, your transportation. The only thing that I ask is if you are categorizing this, that you really dig into some of those categories. For example, transportation is not only your car payment or your car insurance, but the gas, the maintenance, right? Because we need oil changes and rotating tires, right? The repairs and registration. The same for housing, right? What goes into housing, and then making sure that we list everything for this plan. And then we just put it all together. Again, this is the math part. This should be the easy part, right? We're going to take your income, you're going to subtract part for your savings because you should always be saving a little each paycheck. Remember that slide that we talked about? Then you're going to subtract your expenses, and that would give you a net income or loss, right? A positive or negative number. Now, if you're doing this exercise, and I really do challenge all of you to do this exercise if you're not doing it already, at some point, if it's a positive or negative number, it doesn't mean that you failed, right? That's not what we're looking at. What we're looking at is awareness, right? If your expenses are more than your income, it is awareness. What do we need to do to either lower our expenses or increase our income? What are the things that we need to do to adjust our spending plan? I'm going to pause here if anybody has any comments, or Linda, anything you wanted to add to that.
I want to let everyone know that you've shared a budgeting template document and it's been uploaded into the chat, and everybody should be able to download it. We'll also include it in the follow-up email that goes out with the link to the recording and so on. But I just want to let you know that we've
Yeah.
put them in the chat. And there are many, but
Yes.
Sandy has, kindly gone ahead and send us one so that you
Yeah.
can download it, look at it, and go, oh, okay.
Thank you for that. So there is a budgeting template in the chat that you can use. Again, there isn't a one size fits all. It is what works for you and your lifestyle. But income, subtract what you're going to put aside, even if it's a little each paycheck, subtract what your expenses, and that would give you a positive and negative number. I have a question for all of you. When was your last unexpected expense? If you think back in the last 6 months, because I know they pop up frequently, when was your last unexpected expense? The pool. Oh my gosh, I used to have a pool. It is so expensive. Yes. Yes. I don't have any small children, so nobody's begging me for a pool now, but the fridge, my car
Oh,
broke down. Oof.
ouch.
Yeah. Dental care. Oh my gosh. Yes. Um, yeah, dog. So as you can see from the chat, unexpected expenses come up. It is going to, if it has not happened to you, it will, right? It's inevitable. Our car breaks down, our phone breaks down, the fridge breaks down. And these are all the doom and gloom ones, right? But what about the things that are coming up that are not the emergency, right? When's the last time you were invited to a birthday party? Now you have to think about bringing a gift, right? When's the last time your kid comes to you and says, hey, I have to take this to school tomorrow, right? Those are also unexpected expenses. And I say all this to say, that should also be part of your spending plan of your budget, right? We are going to take your income, and you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, another category. And again, this is not for us to feel bad or shameful about. Is just to build awareness and to build a habit, even if it's a few dollars, right? Can we put aside for a bucket for that unexpected, because it will come? right? And now we're prepared for it. Now, instead of adjusting to your savings, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear my dog, adjusting for your savings and your unexpected minus your expense, then would give you a net income or loss. But think about that third bucket, right? The unexpected bucket. Start throwing in, even if it's the loose change that you have, right? It is something. But also think about your unexpected expenses. All right. So that was the easy part, right? That was the math part. Let's talk about our mindful spending. When I say mindful spending or spending mindfully, what do you think about? What does that mean to you? Right? And it's not about I can never spend anything on fun things, right? It's just understanding why we spend or how we spend, right? No impulse buys. Yeah, I'm very impulsive, by the way. But yes, no impulse buys, and we'll talk about that. I love that you brought that up. Um,
Yeah, and I've kind of become the opposite, which is I triple and quadruple think things. And
yeah,
it's not analyzing them to death. It's sort of refraining from being impulsive.
yes,
So I was out of town on business and my shoes split, like one toe on a shoe split. And you look at it and you go, okay, there's no such thing as a cobbler anymore. There's no place to go to get it fixed. And I'm hanging out in a professional environment, so now I have to solve the shoe issue. So where am I going to go
yeah,
get a pair of shoes to just have them now to get through the next few days? And how much am I willing to spend or not?
yeah.
You end up, with the brain spinning.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that, right? Is how much do I spend on that? Where should I go? Where can I get the best deal? That is all being spending mindfully. Somebody mentioned Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
TJ
so
Maxx, right? So,
So I'm just going to pause for a minute and say that Guy was trying to download the document and was unable to do it. We'll see if we can get it to work from our end, but if not, Guy, just make a note to yourself to watch for the follow-up email, because we will have the document attached to the email that goes.
yes, yes, yes. All right, so let's talk about how to practice mindful spending. And again, if something resonates with you, throw it in the chat. Or if there's something on that's not on here that is working for you, throw it in the chat. We all would love to learn from that. And like I've been talking for the last 30 minutes, right? The first thing is we need to track your spending, know where your dollar is going. That would be my first suggestion. The next one, if I have any subscription people out there, right? Regularly review your subscriptions. They can creep up over time. Do you know how many subscriptions you have today? Plan ahead, right? I think somebody said, oh, plan purchase. Joseph mentioned, right? As knowing when you need to purchase something. You know when the birthdays are coming. You know when the holidays are coming, right? There are the same year day. There's the same day year over year. So plan ahead for those. Designate some guilt-free spending. We deserve to enjoy the little things in life, right? So it's okay if you make a plan for that. And I am just going to use this Saturday for me, right? So designate guilt-free spending. This is the one I practice quite frequently is pause before purchasing. I have so many cards out there that are still waiting to hit purchase on. I pause. And if I don't go back to that, then maybe I didn't need it, right? If I do go back, then I've thought about it, I've researched it, or try to find a cheaper or less expensive item, but pause before purchasing. The other thing that I advocate for is to find an accountability partner. Do you have somebody in your life that you trust, that you can share these things with, right? It is so important to have the money conversation. in your household, with your friends, trusted people, right? This is personal. So it's really important that it's somebody that you trust, but it's somebody in your life who can help you hold you accountable. If I told my husband that I am saving for whatever that may be, right? He will hold me to account to say, you shouldn't spend on that because we're saving for this. So that is the one I advocate for too, is to make sure that you have somebody that you can trust and talk to about these things. And then again, going back to our values or what's important, evaluate what's important to you. Are you saving for something that somebody else told you you should? Or is it something that you really, really want and that is important to you? All right. Do we have anyone who has any other practices they'd like to share? All right. And from these, is there one that you can think about and activate in your life after this call? So I do have a little bit of homework for all of you. It's what we call a 10-minute money check-in. Just 10 minutes. I do this every other week or pay period is one. Open your mobile app or your statement. Scan last week's spending or the last 2 weeks of spending, and then circle one win and one change. And then just set a tiny action for next week. This is what I do personally before payday. So every other Thursday, I track everything. And I look at the last 2 weeks. Where could have I done better? Where did I purchase something that was either on sale or I really needed it? Or what was the one thing? I moved money to my savings account, and I celebrate that. And then I say for the next 2 weeks or my next pay period, this is what I'm going to do different. Or I'm just aware that I frequent, Starbucks on my way to work or whatever that may be for you. But a 10-minute check in to your spending. All right.
Sandy, I'll tell you what's interesting in thinking about the whole budgeting tools side of things. I know how many folks are using phone apps, and what I have found is
Yes.
I actually don't like using them. I
Yes.
actually like using what I've used for decades, which is I'll call it a spreadsheet where I've got my categories down the left. And for each month or each week, it depends on what I'm doing in life, how finely I'm tracking the expense. But whether it's on my computer or whether it's written, to be able to see month next to month, next to month, next to month is more valuable for me than
Yeah.
putting something in an electronic app and saying, whatever, because I did
Yes.
what I was supposed to. I put it in an app. So,
Yeah. Yes. There are so many tools out there available, and I'm with you, Linda. I've tried Every Dollar. I've tried Rocket Money. I've tried there's one more that I tried, NerdWallet. Um, I'm just a paper and pen person.
yeah,
I've since graduated to the Excel. It's
yeah,
just easier for me. And again, it's what works for you.
yeah,
And you might have to try a different, apps or different ways of doing it until you find something that works for you.
yeah.
I would also say on the budgeting apps, and I know I have a slide on this, is there's so many budgeting apps that is a subscription. You have to pay for them. Try the free version first before. If it's working for you and that's something you want to pay for, make sure it's in your spending plan first. But try the free version. There, honestly, I don't. For me, it just didn't work for me. I'm a paper pen Excel person for sure. Um, so let's talk about our money decisions and pitfalls. And again, which of these do you relate to the most, right? Where can we go wrong in our spending plan? And I think we saw this in the chat as well, is called the impulse spending, right? Just spending impulsively, not thinking before we swipe, not really thinking whether this fits into our spending plan or not. The second one is a lifestyle creep, meaning the more money you make, the more you spend, right? So we will always be in that cycle if, we got a promotion at work and now my spending habits have increased as well. That's a lifestyle creep. Your subscription overload, I talked about this a few slides ago. They could really creep up, right? We might not even think twice about it because it's only $4.99 a month or $2.99 a month, whatnot. But the more you get, the more that you have to pay out. So really looking at that. The one I resonate is the emotional spending, right? I mean, they do call it retail therapy for a reason, right? But are you an emotional spender? If we think about when you spend the most, is it at night, just trying to get to bed? Now you're bored, right? Are you feeling stressed or overwhelmed? Or are you feeling happy? Even being happy can get you to go out and spend some money. So, are you an emotional spender? And then lastly, the comparison trap. And I have fallen into this as well, right? When we follow our friends on Facebook or Instagram or whatever that social media app that you have, right? And they're going on vacation or they're going to these restaurants or they're doing this or that, right? And we think, well, that could be me too. Why not? So just one, this is all for awareness, just understanding where your spending habits fall. And just be aware of that and how can you turn that around.
It's interesting as you were reading them, what flashed into my head is uh the spending I do when I go on vacation. It's like I need a memento to
Yeah.
reward myself or something, which obviously this is got means it's an emotional purchase,
Yes. Yes, I know
and
that.
it's folded and it's in a drawer or it's, the wrong climate so it doesn't work or, you know,
Yes. I think I'm the same way, right? When we go on vacation, we feel like our real life is just on pause and then we just, go on vacation and enjoy life, which is fine if you plan for it and you have a budget for that. But I find myself doing the same thing.
yeah.
Um, but for everybody else out there, which one do you relate to? And again, it's not right or wrong or trying to shame anyone, is just understanding where we're at.
I'd love to know, since you mentioned you've got a young one, um, how often are you doing impulse purchases to get them something versus to get you something?
um well, they're not that young. I have 22 years old to 26, but
Ah,
I do always put them first before before myself, for sure. um Man, I guess they'll always be children. I don't need to take them on vacation with me. I mean, all four of them, right? Um, but I will say about my children, or what I feel is important because I didn't have this growing up, is to have the conversations about money, right? When I see, all of the packages coming in, right? Are they, the comparison trap is what we talk about just because they're young. Um, and so are they comparing themselves to their friends? We don't have the same situation, right? From the next person over. So we do talk about that a lot. Um, and, I didn't have that growing up. My parents didn't talk to me about money management. And to be quite honest, if I wasn't in banking, I don't know if I would have learned that.
yeah, no, I'd love to know, like from everybody who's here on the call, did anybody have those messages as they were growing up to be paying attention to how they were spending? Because it was never a topic of discussion in my household. I remember hearing my parents arguing about money in the other room, but there was never like dinner table conversation about it or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so.
You know, I must say our mine was informal. As a kid growing up in LA, I always got those summer jobs. So my auntie used to always teach me how to get the most for my dollars. And
Yeah,
it was so cool, but it was so too, you got to watch it between being thrifty,
yeah,
frugal, and having a stingy mindset. Because when you get older, you tend to say, "Oh, that's too much." Yeah. So it wasn't a balanced thing, but I don't waste a lot of money. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you for
But
sharing that.
yeah, thank you for that. And I didn't realize this, and we talk about this a lot, is we are products of our experiences, right? And so, you know, everything is learned experiences. So we are going to mess up along the way, but just taking that and learning from it and what can we do better? Um, because I mean, me in my 20s, or in my early 20s, I shouldn't have gotten the credit card that I did, right? And so you learn from that, and you hope to teach it forward to my kids, especially. But
Mhm.
having the money conversation is definitely important. So I'm hoping that everybody, if you take nothing from this conversation, take that. Have open conversations about money. Don't have to divulge, how much you're making or whatnot, but just helping our children understand money management. All right. So we talked about finding your leak, right? Which one resonates with you? And then what can we do to one be more aware when it's happening, and how to change that? Yeah, even at school, yeah, no one talked about us. Not no one talked to us about money. Absolutely true. I didn't learn it in school, but love that. So I have a question. I think we talked about this, Linda, is how you track money. And we talked about the budget apps and whatnot. But let me give you some ways that hopefully will help track your money or budget your money. And so this is one of the most popular rules out there. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. And so what this means is that you're going to take all of your income, and 50% of that income goes to your needs. These are the essentials that you need just to live, right? Your rent, your groceries, your health insurance, your utilities. 50% of that goes to your needs. 30% of your take home income goes to your wants. These are non essentials, right? Your shopping, your dining out, your hobbies. And then 20% goes to your savings and your goals, right? 20% goes to your unexpected, your savings, money for the future. Now, I think I've talked about this for the last 45 minutes, that there is no one size fits all. The 50-30-20 is just a way for you to bucket your money, but you can definitely change the percentages, right? We live in Southern California. I don't know if 50% is enough for our needs for just rent, right? So it's just a way for you to categorize your money. You can go 60 20 20, right? Or 65, whatever it is that you need. But this is just a way for you to categorize your money. This is the easiest for me to do it for myself, because it's just three buckets that I have to navigate. But again, the percentages can fit your lifestyle. You don't have to keep that at a 50-30-20. What I do is I have three accounts. One for all of our needs. This is our mortgage payments, our utilities, our car payments, things like that. Then I have a separate account where I transfer my money for my wants. And this is the things that I can spend. And then I have obviously a savings account to throw that in. So it's not all kept in one account. It just helps me visualize my buckets better. All right. In the budget worksheet, hopefully you guys were able to open that up, but this is the budget worksheet that we use at US Bank to talk to our clients. But if you Google budget worksheets, you're going to get hundreds of them. You can just make this your own. There isn't, again, one size fits all. It's whatever fits your lifestyle. Your categories might be different. Your payments might, or your labels here will look different. It's just a way to track your money. And we talked about budgeting tools. A lot of financial institutions, whoever you're banking with, might already have a budgeting tool on their app, on their mobile app. Check that out first. You're already banking with them, it should be free. There's so many other budget apps out there. You can try it. And like I mentioned, don't pay for anything yet until you absolutely know that this is going to work for you. But if you wanted to start with paper and pen and just track your money, that is something that you can do as well. Also, what are some cost-effective ways that we can save a little, right? So, community power savings. So, what are things that are happening in your neighborhood that you can take advantage of, right? Can we take our kids to free movies at the park during the summer? Are there any utility payment plans or assistant programs that we can look into? The library has a lot of discount programs as well. Making sure that you do some research on what's happening in your area as well. And then just stick to a plan. Our weekly money check-in that we talked about, right? That 10-minute check-in, and adjust in real time. Um, it's not a set it and forget it, right? I am just going to do my plan today, and just set it and just forget it. You have to review it regularly. Our life changes pretty frequently, right? So making sure that that is changing with us as well. Use apps or cash envelopes. Some people use cash envelopes to stay on track. And then celebrate small wins. Even if you stuck to a budget for a week, that is a win, right? Even if you tracked your money over the weekend, that is a win, right? So we start small and we build that habit until we have a full-fledged spending plan. And so I ask one of all of you to just commit to one small change, right? This week or next week. One, will you do a 10-minute check-in? Will you pause 24 hours before you make a purchase? Can you commit to canceling one subscription that you have not used in the past month, right? Find that accountability partner. Who is someone that you trust in your circle that you can say, hey, I am trying to track my expenses. And then lastly, can you add $5 to your unexpected expense this week? Again, it's just about the small wins, the small habits until it builds up to something that we can take along our financial wellness journey. So with that, this is what I always say. Budgeting is not for people who don't have enough money. I think that's the misconception, that we have to budget because we don't have enough. It's just making sure that we want to ensure that our money is enough. So don't look at it that we have to do this because we don't have enough. It's just making sure that it is enough for us and our spending plan. With that, Linda, unless anybody has any questions out there, I did see the comment about the separate accounts. It's a visual thing for me. I like to separate it. Once that money goes into my needs bucket or my needs account, that is only going to what we need for our household. And then my wants, this is something I just spend that I have allocated for it. So it's easy for me to control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'd like to open it up for questions. Folks, if you have any questions, go ahead and you can raise your hand if you want to. And what happens is Zoom will capture your hand and raise your hand, new feature, or just take yourself off of mute and put yourself on camera so we can see your face and join the conversation and pose your questions for the next 5 to 7 minutes. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. So what kind of questions are folks coming up with?
Yes. I do. Yeah. Yes. Double yes. Yes. It's so much easier, right? When we both align to what our goals are, especially if you have shared accounts as well. It's really important that we align on that. And so my husband and I, every pay period, so every other week, always talk about, okay, this is what's coming in, this is what's going out these next 2 weeks, and this is what we have left over. So, yes, really important to do this together.
Wonderful. Yared, I saw your hand. Go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Okay, thank you so much for your effort for effort we to have a better understanding how to manage our finances. I believe most of us knows all the benefit of how to manage our finance and make savings. But from my side, I have a challenge to upgrade that into a permanent habit or to be consistent in managing my finance. So, is there any formula or something like that that tricks me to implement that saving day to day or week to week or month to month? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if I understood your question, what things that we can do to automate your savings, right? To make it consistent, and so that you keep doing it. One of the things that I do is my direct deposit is automatically split. So part of my direct deposit goes into my savings account. I don't see it. It's what my employer does and pulls and puts it into my savings. The other thing that I do is my savings is completely separate, different financial institution from where I bank. And it's an online savings account, so it's not easy for me to walk in and take the money out. I don't have a debit card, it's all online. So that gives me the pause needed to, do I really need to take that out? And so that, again, I'm a visual person, so if I can not see it, that will also help me. The other thing that I do is, I don't know if your financial institution does this, but every time I swipe my card, a quarter goes to my savings account every time I swipe. So a quarter doesn't seem like a lot, but and then depending on how many times you swipe, that could also be, again, it's automated. I don't think about it, it just goes. That's what I would suggest about making things as easy in a set it and forget it type of way for your savings account.
I love
Wow, thank you
those
so much.
tricks.
Yeah.
I love those tricks. And the other thing about it is I know that different institutions handle the settings on your account differently. So you might have to walk into the bank and say, I want to do the following. How do
Yeah.
you set that up on my account? It's possibly not something you can set up just by logging in on your phone. There's certain institutions where different things you want to do, you need to do them in person at the bank. So
Yes.
just
I
because it
do.
doesn't show up on the phone doesn't
Exactly.
mean it's not available.
I do know some credit unions have, and we don't have it here, but some like a goals savings, like a Christmas savings account, so it's locked in. You can kind of make the deposits, but you can't withdraw until a certain amount. Kind of like a layaway for your money. But I know my sister does that at her credit union, and I think that's pretty cool too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, there's so many things out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that
Okay.
helped and I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can I have more question, but it may not be the right time. I don't know.
You
So,
can
okay,
always
so
reach out to me. Yes, Linda.
Yared, and everyone, we're going to go to Diane in a moment. Um, uh, Sandy's contact information is going to be in the follow-up email, so you can reach out to her with your additional questions.
Okay.
Okay. Since you're
Okay.
not certain, let's go to Diane now, and then if we have a few minutes after that, we can come back, Yared, and we can see if we can squeeze your additional questions in. So, hi, Diane.
Okay.
Hi there. Thank you for this. It's really, Sandy, it's a really wonderful consumer opportunity for us. Does your bank also offer things for people that want to do some more long range planning? Like, when to sell the house, what to do with the house, that kind of stuff for more either retirement or end of life planning.
Yes, absolutely. And most financial institutions you could walk in and talk to either a wealth advisor or financial advisor. Everybody's going to have a different title, but there are so many advisors in financial institutions, whether it's Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, US Bank. We all have the same, and so we do have those guided conversation of estate planning, right? Who you want to leave a legacy to, your retirement planning, definitely could walk in. I guess this is for the larger group too, is don't be afraid to walk into your financial institution and ask the question, because we all have the same products and services, and so you can just walk into a banker and they can definitely direct you to the right person.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
this just feels much more personal and more accessible than some of the other agency or the other banks that I've been with. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, and you can reach out to me, Diane, too. We also have a goals coach program. You don't have to be customers of ours, and they don't sell products, but they do help you plan, goal plan, whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be financial in nature. It could be, anything really. And so they are trained in behavioral science, such as habit forming, but also help you navigate wherever it is that your goal, whatever goal you have, they will help you just action plan that. But if you want to reach out to me, and I can tell you more about that.
Thanks, Diane. So I'm looking at the clock, and Sandy, thank you so much for joining us
Yes.
today and everything that you shared. I mean, I know I learned a lot, and I think from the questions other people were posing that it was very enlightening for each of us. So it's so important to have this sorted out in our lives, this whole side of personal budgeting. And so I really appreciate it. And to everybody who joined us today, I hope you'll join us for our next financial literacy event. It'll be later in the spring on the topic of building credit, and we'll announce the date. It'll come to you through email and so on. And we will be sending out a recording of this webinar so that you can revisit the material. We will attach the spreadsheet or the link to it in the email, as well as the recording link. And please feel free to forward it to everyone that you know who might find this useful. You can forward that follow-up email so that they can listen to the recording, that they can download the spreadsheet as well. And Mimi and Rebecca and I are going to stay on, but I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight and say be well and take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night, all. Stay safe.
Thank you all. Great presentation.
I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the people who
Sure.
are still here.
Yeah,
Um,
you can put them in the waiting room.
that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't want them to get in trouble, but we
Exactly.
want them to leave ever so kindly.
Exactly.
Uh,
And before we get into conversation, go ahead and turn off the recording from your side if it will let you.
yes, stop recording.